Actually, what we're going to use... Let me get this rotated. Screw it. Hi everyone. I'm doing a false start right now. Actually, tonight I'm going to be talking about the health literacy wheel from Innovative Potential. It can look like this if you print it out and get some magnets from like Staples or something and get it laminated. It's actually pretty good. I have it on all of our fridges at home. At home and around the office are the same thing nowadays, but I've given them out to family and friends, and I'm just gonna go through and explain it today and sort of why it exists in the first place. So getting on that. Yeah, so going on that, basically it's divided into 4 sections, just like our other wheels of internet literacy kind of thing. So there's diet, exercise, screening, and intervention. And before you go getting all weird and a little legal and monopolistic, I'm not a doctor, just a full disclosure. Innovative Potential is not a doctor. It's not a medical company. It's not going to fix your medical problems. And when people usually use that disclaimer, that's exactly what they mean. We're not fixing your problems. This is more of a stylized self-help type of tool that you can use, the general public can use, to help them navigate information on the internet. And this is coming from one of those places of when you grow up, you go through school, but not everybody has high school biology. Some people don't have, they have maybe one gym course kind of thing. They don't have any additional courses in health. They don't have, there's a lot of holes in people's upbringing and education just because how they specialized. But there's a point where it kind of swings back and people start picking up start filling in the gaps kind of thing. And this is one of those places that can be a real tool to help fill in the health literacy gaps. And it doesn't matter what age you are; it's your body. You know it yourself. But everybody gets bad habits. That's sort of what we're talking about. Is just how to do the improvements, how improvements are interrelated and connected with each other. And if you do notice or you do find you do need some type of serious help, where to get it and how those resources exist within the greater community. Because sometimes it's not just a hospital. There's a whole network of healthcare providers and healthcare team members that are able to help fix whatever might be ailing you. So I'm going to start at the top in the yellow with drink water and just sort of move around the wheel following it until we get back around to drinking water again. The wheel itself has a back to it. It's a front and back print. It's a front and back printout. So if you purchase one of them, you get in the PDF, you get the front and back associated with it. But the back has a whole bunch of information that breaks down exactly what I'm talking about with drink water. So that's basically, drink water, dehydration. Why is drinking water important enough to put on a piece of paper? And that's sort of what we talked about last week on the Wheel of Asset Creation one. And I've made a couple of changes to that just through talking it over. It's still the same basic content. It's just a little bit more in line with the video that's up. Check that out on the Twitch feed. But to start off the wheel of health literacy, a lot of this has to do with that obesity epidemic. People are getting subjected to lockdowns for extended periods of time. Many people have, from what I've seen from Twitch alone, there are the physical fitness channels, there are the yoga channels. By all means, go check them out. They're great to follow. They are actually really good to follow along with. Primal_Rage is offering a free body weight workout book if you type in book on his chat. So go check out his channel. It's actually his book is better than mine. It's colored and it's just well done. So go check out him and apply the health literacy wheel to your workouts. So basically, drink water. So like, why is drinking water important? And drinking water kind of fits in to close the loop between resistance training and your diet and exercise. Drink water is essential to life. It's one of those things that just like, no, you got to have it. Some people can kind of overdo it, and it's just like the preference is water. Don't go to you can go to milk. Milk's a good one. Milk is a good alternative, but some people are lactose intolerant, so that's kind of not of an option. And this is more into the healthy, active lifestyle kind of world. But drinking water as a default beverage and using soda pops or soft drinks or Cokes to just use them like alcohol. Use them sparingly, because when you're on lockdown and you're not very physically active, those calories and sugars convert to fat directly through a metabolic sort of shunt pathway. I'm not going to talk about that, but if you look up fructose metabolism on Wikipedia, it'll explain it. Why you want to prefer milk and water as opposed to sugared beverages. Plus, it also prevents cramping. So just on the back of on the fridge magnet here, I turned it into a fridge magnet. So it's easy to do. You can do it. It's like less than like $1 for laminating at Staples, and it's like $3 for a strip of magnet tape, whatever. How much we could do it for you too for like $5 too. So that's not a problem. But drinking water, the dehydration can cause muscle cramps, decreased skin elasticity, constipation, and kidney stones. So when you're stuck at a computer for 6-8 hours a day streaming and stuff like that, it doesn't matter if you're getting up to go to the washroom frequently. That's based on how much you're actually drinking, kind of thing. If you're drinking a lot, you're going to the bathroom a lot. Try and use your own discretion with that one. But fruit. A lot of the diet stuff here, the fruit, the whole grain vegetables, the dark leafy green vegetables, root vegetables, I'm gonna loop them all together. They have their own micronutrients, but mostly what you're getting out of these is the fiber. You're getting complex sugars, and you're getting your nutrients, particularly with the dark green vegetables. For some of the vegetarians out there, this gets into if you're not eating meat-based proteins, this is where your whole grains and your legumes come in. Don't just eat bread. Bread is awesome, but there's beans and lentils and chickpeas and rice out there that's available to balance out that protein intake, because there are certain sulfur. You have to have your amino acids. You have to balance that. If you are a practicing vegetarian, vegan, or other restrictive diet person, you already know what your limitations are. You already know why you're doing it. If you're an Atkins, yeah, you already have your own specialties. This is intended as something for someone who's new to health literacy, the general cases, as well as young or old, children to grandparents. A lot of older people that I've come in contact with are kind of in the same four balanced food group mentality and food pyramid stuff, and that was redone a couple of years ago. It wasn't that good to begin with, and there has just been a flourishing of various other diets and diet compositions out there on the market. That's kind of all I want to really get into here, because they're your main sort. Everybody knows how to eat. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Try and keep everything balanced. I'm not going to harp on anything. But protein. I have protein in green there to try and remind people that steak is great. Don't get me wrong. But beans. But you can have beans as a protein source. It's not all about meat as a protein source. There's a lot of protein powders out there that are milk based, or are soybean based, or are egg based. They're not meat based protein powders. That would be that would be insane. That would be insanely expensive as a meat based protein powder. But try and keep in mind that even for when you're doing your meal preparations, or when you're just making dinner for family, friends, and guests, there are a lot of varieties of protein to choose from, and they don't have to be animal based. They don't have to be fish based. They can be It could be something like a 3-bean salad to supplement the rest of the course of the meal. That's sort of there as a little psychological reminder that, like, no, there are these other options, and they are good. They can be good. The polyunsaturated oils and fats. This one is one of those big. It got a big hit in the 70s in terms of diet, when cholesterol was linked to atherosclerosis and heart attacks. And it's one of the ones that people do have to watch out for. There are drugs for polyunsaturated fats and oils. For cholesterol, sorry. Where I wanted to go was sort of the trans fats. People watch out for fats. That's almost a good amount of time on its own. Please Google what the difference between a polyunsaturated oil or fat is and a saturated oil and fat is. That's high school chemistry, and it's been brutally explained in the news literature and the TV news type of stuff. But what you really want to get into is the reason why we stress that type of stuff is that the reason why polyunsaturated oils and fats are stressed, sorry for the textbook glibness, but they're stressed because stack. So you have these triglycerides that get digested in your body, and when they get you eat them, you digest them, they get processed in the liver, and then they recirculate around. So basically what happens is, if they're long chained and they're all straight chains, they have this compressibility on them, and when that gets laid down in an arterial plaque over many years, that's the problem. But with these bent chain polyunsaturated ones, so when it's unsaturated, the chains, these triglyceride chains are bent, they're crooked, so they don't they don't stack or compress as easily, and they don't stack and compress as densely, so they are less prone to being, I guess we'll call it, deposited. There's a whole bunch of other reasons why, because a lot of the Western diets are heavily invested in animals and animal meat products. There's a lot of there are less polyunsaturated oils and fats, and just the Western diets. The typical Western diet focuses heavily on has an absence. It doesn't necessarily focus on it like it's a purpose. It just has a large absence of polyunsaturated fats and oils. And then from the back of the magnet here, it's just eating plant or fish-based fats and oils over animal fats and oils decreases inflammation and the risk of cardiovascular disease. And one of the questions you might be coming up is like, well, where did you get all this information from? Where did all this come from? Most of it is part of it's from my coursework in food nutrition and health sciences. And another part is from what I've been picking up from a lot of the YouTube videos and some of the dietary work, and just there's tons of information on the internet now. Yeah, so that's just where the information comes from. You Google it yourself, and then try not to get overwhelmed, but then try and get that information to work for you in your daily life. That's where lifestyle history comes in, and lifestyle is everything. Lifestyle is the life you lead, and that's why it's based in between diet and exercise on the screen there, and between diet and screening. So you are what you eat. That's great. But what do you do? You can have a really clean, you can have a perfect diet, but do absolutely nothing. And that's better than having a bad diet. Having a bad diet does lead to a lot of diseases, and we're starting to see them pay up now. Diabetes being the major, a large driver here. But the lifestyle history, it's like, you know if you smoked for 40 years. You got to be honest with that type of stuff. You know if you sat in a cubicle for the last decade, took the elevator every day, got on public transit, or got in your car and then drove, you've actually just been sitting for 16 hours a day for a decade. And not exercising. Going up and down the stairs at your house doesn't count as exercise. Mowing the lawn while physically exerts you isn't really exercising. You're not building anything, you're just sort of moving your frame around. This is the part where it's like, no, you got to look back on yourself and make the time to take that type of stock, because you're not going to get any other help if you don't just admit to yourself, yeah, you know what, you've been smoking, or yeah, you know what, but the diet is crap. That's just sort of what it is. But the lifestyle history and the physician relationship, this gets into the screening section of just sort of like what healthcare is and health literacy and the larger overarching health, physical fitness, personal training, gym memberships, dietitians, just that whole industry, self-help, just what that whole industry is made out of and does. And the physician relationship is extremely important because they're frank and they're candid, and you know what, they're going to touch your junk. They're going to touch your no-no bits. They're going to touch your private parts. When you get older, some people like that. But they're also going to check your nose. They're also going to draw blood. They're also going to require you to have a CAT scan. They're also going to tell you some very bad news every once in a while. Hopefully not until you're very old, or hopefully, better yet, never at all. But you have to be. Never lie to you. Like, don't lie to your doctor. They're there to help. They're there to help you. They're probably one of the only people in the world without, I'm gonna sell you an agenda or overcharge you or something like that. They're there to actually just help. But if you don't talk to them and they don't know anything about you, you can't actually. They can only do just their job. They can't know you. And that's what this is sort of is. Like, try and get to know your doctor. Have the conversation with them. Don't be afraid to be stupid. It's actually encouraged that you ask those stupid questions, because it kind of gives the doctor an ability to say, okay, here's this or here's that, or it's not this, or it's like, no, I've been chain smoking for the last decade, and now I have a lung problem, or now I sound like I have been smoking 5 packs a day, you know. But straw men aside, fictitious arguments aside, yeah, be honest with your doctor and don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. It's getting that bravery out in between. Don't let your doctor be a stranger. And if you don't have a doctor, get a doctor. At least have someone you can go back to repeatedly. And if you're not going to do that, get a notebook and maintain your own medical notes and records and stuff like that. They're doing it. That's what they do. That's sort of part of their profession. But for you as an individual, yeah, you do got to keep your own tabs. Keep your own tabs and receipts for your taxes. Do it for your health. Yeah. Building a healthy relationship with your doctor requires personal courage to overcome feeling embarrassed, afraid, or ashamed. Be truthful with your doctor about your circumstances. Try to understand how your prescribed medications function, if you're on them. Do not be afraid to ask your doctor stupid questions. Physician relationship is, family history. Back out to family history. And if you notice on this wheel, this is the straightforward wheel. This is the no bullshit wheel. This is the one where it's like, no, you do one, you do the other one, you do the other one, you do the other one. They're right next to each other. There's no overthinking it. You live in your body 24/7. As much as you know yourself and how you behave and act in the world around you, your lifestyle, your physician relationship should be a part of that, and your family history. Your family history. Family history is a little bit more difficult than physician relationship and lifestyle history, because you have to actually talk to older people in your family. If you're younger, you do have to start doing a little bit of medical detectiveness for your own family and try and figure out what diseases or what predispositions to diseases are running in your family. Whether it could be something like alcoholism, it could be something like diabetes. It could be something like cancer. It could be, I go to cancer a lot, so that's just one of my C word vocabularies. But it could be diverticulitis. It could be a whole bunch of whatevers, but you do have to have that sort of frank and open and honest conversation about what did... Ask your parents or ask an aunt and uncle, what did their grandparents, how did their grandparents have? It's like, oh, there was a lot of high blood pressure. Oh, okay, well, just have that in the, this is one of those things where you put it in the back of your mind. You might want to jot it down on paper or something like that. Oh, Aunt Martha had high blood pressure, and then so did the rest of her like family. Chances are I'm going to have it because they also had it. They're the sister of whoever. Or obesity, or addictions. Some people are predisposed to various factors of mental health. Some people have genetic, well, I'm not going to go into genetics for that type of stuff. They're literally a case-by-case basis, and trying to make a case-by-case basis for a general case drive me crazy. But know your family, and if you somehow are the oldest surviving member, or the only member of your family that you know of, or you don't have people to talk to about your family history, that might be the time to think about 23andMe or those types of background finding services. So with 23andMe, it's a swab, and you get a little bit of about your background history. But if you have nothing else, if there's nobody else to sort of provide you with that history, this is a good starting point, because a lot of between a discussion with your doctor and even saying, no, I don't, I'm an orphan, whatever, I don't know, like in that sort of extreme case, at least having a little bit of data or understanding about who you are and where you came from at the biological and genetic level, nothing to do with culture, nothing to do with how you were raised, can then provide your doctor with an ability to sort of say, oh, okay, well, your doctor will know that these geographic bloodlines sort of, because everybody sort of immigrated and moved around after the war kind of thing, but these geographic locations have certain diseases associated with them. That's knowable, that's known, that's nothing to be embarrassed, just sort of being alive. That's just one of those things for being alive. So family history is important, and there are services and tools out there that help you get a handle on how that family lineages reflects back on your modern day, and then how that kind of affects your children. Self-monitoring in terms of screening. This is more to the the self-breast exam, the self-testicular exam. Look, did this mole look like? Doesn't matter what you look like. Take a harsh stock in front of the mirror, and this mole changed. Really get to know and embrace what you look like. This isn't about positive body image. This is about the dry end analytical. Look at yourself and know where your moles are. Do you have a you went on a vacation and you got really sunburned, and then you got a new mole. There's a lot of concern there, particularly like for Australian people. They got tons of stuff, so they got tons of UV light from being in Australia. For some of the European residents or European descended residents, because of the increased risk factors for skin cancer. So something like that, where it's just like, no, you got to know your body, and it's not a beauty pageant. It's just like, no, you have to, you do have to just watch and monitor how you change as you grow older. And if you have a partner, it makes it a little bit more fun. Have them look at you and you look at them. It can be sensual. It can be an opening, and it can be a very nice erotic type of evening if you self-monitor each other. Particularly if you're married and you want to like jazz it up or something. Or even if you're in a new relationship and you're kind of like really into them. That's one of those, like, you grab the erotic dice nights and then add in a mole check or Add in a mold check or two while you're at it. Yeah, being aware of your own body and how it changes over time will help you and your doctor identify possible health issues before they become inconvenient, debilitating, or life-threatening. Respectfully in sex, we're already there. Respectfully inspect oneself or loved ones on a regular basis, looking, touching, and feeling for signs of pain, discomfort, discoloration, or changed health status. Talk to your doctor if you notice any changes. So that's more of, a lot of this has to do with preventing disease. I originally wanted to call this wheel preventative medicine, because in following it, you actually sort of remove yourself from that type of, and from that type of like extreme situation where you don't die. Basically, I don't know. The art of living, you can call it the art. Yeah, you can call this the art of living and charge like $50 instead of 99 cents for it. But it's one of those things where it's just like, we're trying to prevent diseases, and spotting these things early, just spotting anything early. And even this goes into if you're taking care of an elderly family member, sometimes they won't have the mobility. So skin color discolorations on their lower extremities or puffiness in their lower extremities, particularly is like a sign of edema. So they're not getting good enough circulation in their legs. That's something to go to the doctor with. They might need compression stockings. They might need they might need to soak in like an Epsom salt bath. They might need to actually have like a little bit of an intervention. I'm jumping ahead of myself, but this is sort of where it gets it. You found something, you've noticed something. They're not just old with liver spots. No, their legs are always puffy. That's not a good sign. It means their legs aren't. It means that their legs aren't able to circulate the lymph and circulate the blood properly. So that's going to need to be addressed at some point. And this brings it into a physician examination. So like, congratulations, you noticed something, but get the professional look at it, because that's what they do every day. And it goes back into your physician relationship as well. If you know what to look out for, before you get something, before it gets to, like, we're always trying to cut down the surgery costs, because surgery is expensive. Long-term hospital care is expensive. So bringing it back to the physician examination is, you found something, I need this. Congratulations, you found something. I need the second opinion. And that's what we're looking at here, where you used the internet and you said, okay, well, this is something that's piqued a big enough question, or it needs to be addressed, or it needs to be confirmed. And then your doctor comes in and they look at it. So now with the internet, if you kind of figure out how to like navigate some of the PubMed stuff, some of the Mayo Clinic website, there's a ton of free information. There's a ton of free semi-diagnostic stuff freely available to the public. That's what this is for. This is how to, like, when is it good? When do I need to go? It's like, when you need to go when you need to go. Don't second chance it. Don't be afraid to call an ambulance. Don't be afraid to use a walk-in clinic. Don't be afraid to pick up a phone and schedule an appointment. That's what it's there for. Yeah, your doctor is expertly qualified to identify the signs and symptoms of a changing health status. While it might be uncomfortable, having the courage to undergo a physical or physician examination could save your life. This is more because the physician is going to be able to draw upon additional diagnostic tools which cater the internet pictures, there are these general case internet pictures like the Mayo Clinic and stuff like that, and that is going to help push you into the diagnostic images. So that's where you yourself get the X-ray done on your elderly person's leg, whatever. That's the example. They get the CAT scans, the MRI scans. The doctor is going to be able to generate this healthcare information specifically tailored to you. And that's what this diagnostic imaging is. You don't have access to this diagnostic imaging because it's expensive. It's expensive, and a lot of times it ends up being semi-radioactive. That's not, don't be afraid of that. But that sort of swings down to the bottom of the diagnostic imaging and leads us into blood tests. The diagnostic imaging and blood tests are kind of the same. The doctor administrates or knows when to pick and choose what type of information they need to make a better qualified decision on how to do or how to address your problems or how to address your newfound changed health status. And this is not an emergency room situation that I'm typically using as an example. It's more, can you get a lot of medicine is devoted to getting the right answer. And that sucks because that's not the way most people live their lives. A lot of people live their lives just based on convenience, get it done, and we move on to the next thing. But having to actually have a factual right answer, it's like doctors, lawyers, and engineers base their livelihood on right answers. And the rest of the sciences, but these are the main three professions that people sort of like snap into their head the fastest. That's all I want to say about blood tests. It's a blood tests are kind of are like a screening intervention, but they really give your doctor a really clear, good idea roadmap if there has to be some type of surgical intervention, and that's what I mean by clinical procedures. Clinical procedures are specialized techniques that are designed to physically fix the body's problems. There's a lot of sort of biomechanical engineering as well as fluid mechanics that kind of go into this as a form of medicine. That's the cool part. But the clinical procedures have to be done in a sterilized environment. Particularly surgical environments. And that's why everybody fucking hates COVID, because I'm going to shut up about that one because it's not a clinical procedure, but it is incredibly resource intensive for the people who need the most resources. And sticking an intubation tubes down someone's throat to keep them breathing is a clinical procedure that requires a sterilized environment. And a lot of the sterilized environments require a hospital surgical suite. That's sort of the end of the story. Those facilities exist, but they exist someplace else. For longer term diseases, like a knee replacement or hip replacement, or a colonoscopy or an endoscopy. You get a colonoscopy, they save lives, kind of thing. The pace is a little bit slower, but even with regards to mental health, an isolation or an observation is a form of an intervention at a clinical procedure, and a sort of a clinical procedure. It's a non-surgical clinical procedure because it takes place in a clinic. And all of this includes mental health services as well. So your physician, particularly with psychotropic drugs or pharmaceuticals of that nature, it's all about long-term monitoring. And having that physician relationship and having those blood tests help to understand where that steady state actually is and where that steady state is found. And that's all I want. That's all I want to say about that. The next part on the intervention is to change your social environment. And what I mean about that, and this is more into the mental health and to the addictions counseling world of, because that's how big and overarching this wheel actually can kind of go. You really got to know yourself and where you are and what you need, but it's designed to be that general. To change your social environment, particularly with habit-forming substances or bad influencers, don't be afraid to get new friends. Like there are such things as bad friends. There are toxic people throw the word toxic environments around and stuff like that, but if you're in a relationship with an enabler, you have to change that environment. And it's not just like, and I'm not meaning your social environment of, work and play kind of thing. It's more of who are the 5 people that you closely chum around with, or who are the closest 5 people to you, kind of thing. As you look at your lifestyle history, are you always smoking with the same people after work? Do you want to quit smoking, and yet you continually just end up in the smoking section for some reason? You know how that is. Work's over, you're laughing, you're joking, and the next thing you know, you've had 2 cigarettes. Shit. Because you're smoking, your friend is smoking, your another chum is smoking, and that's sort of like constituting that they're enabling you to smoke. They're putting that peer pressure because they don't want to smoke. They don't want to be brave enough to like just quit smoking. Yeah, it's an addiction. Don't get me wrong. It paints your social memories. The smoking paints your memories. The heroin paints your memories. The drugs paint your memories. The food you eat paints your memories. The wine paints your memories. It's a part of your memory. And that's difficult to do because there's this sort of like fear that without the drug, you're not going to be able to have that type of that positive social emotion. But you can. That's what a lot of the cognitive behavioral therapy tries to coax out. You can have the same positive social emotions without the drug being in the way, or the drug being centered around the event. That being said, look for better examples. Look for better influencers. Be open to trying new things. Twitch is a new social environment. Games are a new social environment. We've never had them before, really, since 1990. Invite someone over to play games. It could, like that's sort of in a little bit more of a social positive note. Gaming is a type of, 2-player games are great when you just, punch your buddy and knock the controller out of his hand. but that's sort of like in all seriousness, that's how it works. That being said, limit sitting and screen time. That goes into that whole obesity epidemic, the sedentary lifestyle. I'm not going to go like running through it, but it's just like it's one of the big ones coming up. We end up with like if everybody's in office buildings with computers and they're sitting for approximately 8 hours a day plus commute times. Now more so that everybody's at home, so you get up, you sit, at your breakfast. Even my own routine, I'm going to run through it right now. It's like I get up, I eat breakfast, I sit at the breakfast table, I get up, I go to the computer, I sit at the computer table, I get up, I go back to lunch, and I'm sitting at the lunch table. Then I go back to the computer, and then I'm back at the computer after work, usually playing games. So it's like, yeah, it really is sort of like 9 full hours of sitting down every day. There's stretches and stuff in between, but it's still 9 fucking hours in a fucking computer. Break that up, for the love of God. Break that up as best as you can. Do more stretches. Do a push up. Try and do a split. Do the back chair thing. Fix your posture. A lot of streamers end up with a fix your posture button and hydrate kind of thing. Or a posture check. That's how fucking important this is. And it's got to be ingrained at an almost behavioral level, because you're gonna be paying for it in terms. You're gonna be having a lot of lower back pain with improper computer posture 10 years down the road. And it's going to be a lot of questions like, well, I didn't do anything. I'm not a sports person. I didn't get injured in my life. But I have this like wicked back pain and scoliosis now because my posture is complete fucking shit for the last decade. That's all most of that's preventable with a decent exercise. But it's getting that exercise. We're at like a third of the American population is like obese or overweight or something like that. And they're sedentary on top of that. It's like, you can't pay for that. That's too much. Limit screen and sitting time. These two activities, separate and in combination with each other, have been identified as habit-forming and the cause of a number of long-term health problems, including depression, anxiety, obesity, and are associated with an overall poor health status. Limit sugar, processed foods, and fried foods. These foods are designed to activate pleasure centers. They are typically calorie dense and preferably metabolized into fat stores in the body. And I gotta think on that one, because it's one of those things where it's like, these types of foods are not bad. I'm not gonna harp on fried chicken wings. You get into this sort of good advice. One of the good advice is where they say shop around the edge of the grocery store and try and stay away from the middle of the grocery store that's all full of just packaged products and stuff. There's a ton of salt in them. There's a ton of extra calories in them. It's more to the fact that you say one first of all, you're going to save money in the long run because you're buying fresh stuff. Fresh stuff is more expensive than the old stuff because you're paying the cost of it being fresh. But a lot of the processed stuff as a bulk aggregate doesn't have the same nutritional stuff as the dark green leafy vegetables. That being said, a lot of the freeze-dried stuff is, if you get something freeze-dried, that's kind of like your best option. And a lot of fish and seafood is done that way. The berries are great. They're done in the frozen section. Ironically, the frozen section is in the middle of that section where there's a couple of good gems in there, but you really need to know what you're getting at beforehand. So frozen vegetables, yeah, there's no problem with that. By all means, go down the frozen food section aisle, get the frozen vegetables, get the beans, get the corn, get all that good stuff. The pizza pockets, I'm not picking on pizza pockets. Maybe make your own pizza pockets one day. Campfire bread is pretty awesome. That being said, I do like pizza pockets. But I'm not eating pizza pockets as my lunch every fucking day. That's really sort of what this is like, really kind of hitting hard on. Sodas. You don't need no 5-gallon jug of soda. You don't need that. That's just like, what the hell? Go drink a 5-gallon jug of water. I'm running fast on time because this is one of the hard ones to do. So no addictive products. This is straightforward, but this is one of those things where it's like, if you're in substance management, if you're like, and this is why this is so fucking complicated, because there's so many like levels of like lifestyle, just sort of like generalized lifestyle advice. Stay away from the caffeine. You don't need you don't need a pot of coffee every morning. You actually do sink into the coffee addiction. Try and break that caffeine addiction, and you're gonna see just how actually like, no, we don't have coffee today. You're fucking miserable. Goes into the same thing as, no, we're not having cigarettes today. If you want to quit smoking, the easiest thing to do for smoking is take the cigarette, break off break off a finger, like a digit, a phalanx, like a little, break off a finger length, just the first, maybe inch, and save it. Put the savings in a jar, and then you cut down the dose of the cigarette. Don't say like, oh, I'm gonna save the last butt. No. You cut it off the top end, and I'm pissed now. Smoking is really one of those like things. If you want to quit, the easiest way to do is just like wean yourself off of the addiction, and that starts by getting rid of the dosages. You're gonna feel unsatisfied, but you know what? At least you got a hit of your nicotine. You at least got a hit. But then, like a pack later, you see, look how much I didn't smoke. That's your fucking trophy. Look how much I didn't smoke. Until you get to the point where you have one of those goddamn mason jars full of unsmoked cigarettes. End of story. Congratulations. Stay away from street drugs. They're just sort of street drugs. I don't really... It's hard to say stuff at the general level, where it's just sort of like regular advice for kids to grandparents. Everybody wants to experiment in college, and sort of everybody kind of does experiment in college. You should know what a dose-response relationship is before you go experimenting down that path. I'm not saying do it, but know what a dose-response relationship is before you do anything. It's like a safety filter, and people are going to do it anyway. I'm saying don't, but at the same time, it's like... No addictive products, because this is intended for children to grandparents. Like if you're older, like you got like people over 60 or people under 65 with 4 different prescription drugs on them. You're gonna add in like, I don't know, oxy to the mix, and they'll end up with a drug interaction. You end up with a high risk of drug interactions the older you are. Like there are professional drug dealers, and they're called pharmacists. And their job is to make sure that you don't die. That's it. Self-esteem and personal hygiene. Yeah, shower. Shower's a great one. Brush your teeth. Manscaping, ladyscaping, regular scaping, yardscaping. All that kind of just general knowledge. We're kind of getting out of the intervention stuff, but tooth and gum care kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but it's also important. And all of this is just sort of self-evident intervention stuff. So it's like, if you ever get like a hot date or something, or if you want to go on a hot date, you're gonna have to satisfy most of these qualifications to go on a hot date. they gotta be incorporated into your life somehow. Otherwise, you gotta be like filthy rich. Get up, shower, stretching and yoga. It's a great way to start the day. It's a great way to break. Go check out the people on Twitch. In the physical fitness section, there's always somebody doing yoga. There's always someone doing Tai Chi. It's the same basic stuff. It's great. It gets you up and running. If you have been inactive, kind of talk with your doctor first before you really kind of begin anything. They know you better than you know yourself in some circumstances. But that being said, stretching and yoga, walking, aerobic training. I'm increasing the intensity because I'm more in that sort of personal space myself. There are great stations on Twitch that really specialize in aerobic training, or really specialize in resistance training, or really specialize in dancing, sports, and yoga. So check them out. There's like billions worth of free information out there. Go and get some of that money for yourself and apply it to your life. Stretching and yoga, walking, aerobic training. Some of the aerobic training is just like, jogging, get your heart rate up, for the love of God. All this bro science crap is all just sort of like, it really is. Cardio is not a bad thing. It integrates your neuromuscular functions that you just did. So, by all means do your workout, but then do some running and do some jogging to integrate all of those muscle groups with the rest of your body. That's how it works. Get that muscle mass moving, and you do get to see some results. Dancing and sports, they're in the same sphere as the integration with cardio, but they're gonna get your neuromuscular. It's like they're gonna get like that mind body soul connection up and moving and unified. Dancing is great. Everybody loves a flamenco. Sports as well. You don't have to do contact sports, but a good sport that I like is swimming. It's sort of the best cardio. It's the all-rounded type of activity, and being able to swim is one of those life skills. I feel like you don't gotta be Phelps about it, but it's one of those exercises along with dancing that just ties you get your hand-eye coordination, you get like all of that stuff. It's not basketball dribbling kind of type of sports, but it is just getting everything to jive, just putting everything in together. And then there's weightlifting, the resistance training, the calisthenics. How far do you want to go with weightlifting? When I was younger, I wanted to be those like big, huge bodybuilder guys for a while, and then it's like, well, you do see results, but that was just sort of taking a big toll on me, time commitment wise, and then it was just like, I realized that I don't have to go that far. I want to go that far. I will go that far, but I got to a point where I was happy, and I just maintained. Yeah. And then, well, to avoid those muscle cramps, drink water, and we're back to the start. And that kind of wraps up our hour. So there are 3 little extra bullet points: 6 hours of rest per day, vitamin D3 supplements, and don't take shortcuts. The 6 to 8 hours of rest today, that's not sleep. That is more of when you're doing something, like it's more of don't work yourself into fatigue, because it's like, particularly with myself with the with computers and stuff, a lot of it I get mentally fatigued and I don't realize it at some point, but that cuts my productivity, that cuts what I want to do out of the picture. Going back into that really sets up something where I Take that break. Take the break from what you're doing. Go and live your life a little bit. Now that the commute has been taken out of a lot of people's lives, that's upwards of sometimes almost 3 fucking hours. Some people got 3 hours of their lives back for not commuting and being able to work at home. That's fucking amazing. Make use of that to try and fill in some of the health stuff. Some of the stuff that you weren't able to do because you had to sit on a train or drive a car or something like that for 3 hours there, for an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back into or out of a city or something like that. It's more of like, yeah, no. Don't squander that time you just got back, because that's a fucking godsend. Not to get preachy or anything. Like, I'm not gonna say like, well, spend it with your family and stuff. Like, no. Bust your ass in the gym. Learn how to cook. Make your life better with that 3 hours that you just got back from sitting on a train doing nothing. Vitamin D supplements. I'm from a northern latitude. I'm not from the equator. I'm not in the equator. My wife is a ghost. But where I am, the vitamin D supplements are one of the things that, because we don't have a lot of sunlight, I actually have to do. This is for like Europe and kind of North America, Russia, Northeast China. They can all benefit from it because we don't have any sun. Part of that kind of leads to a depression. Some of that pulls out a depression. There's a whole bunch of things there, but through most of the reading that I've done, this is one of the things that has been missed a lot. And I found my own personal benefits. I know, having done a round of supplements, of D3 supplements, I know when they're missing. I know when that's missing. And you don't have to be on them forever. It's just sort of to carry you through the winter, to carry you through those like trapped inside, looking out the window, and it's weak light. And try not to take shortcuts. That being said, consult with your doctor about starting a type of supplement or starting a new multivitamin, or get a physician relationship if you don't have one now. But don't take shortcuts. This wheel is one of those things that just kind of like builds up over time, but if you can address some of the stuff first, foremost, and fast, you don't have to go into those like dark places, and you don't have to go through those you just don't have to go down those detours. You don't have to go down those bumpy roads. You don't have to go on that pull your ass out of the fire type of adventure because you didn't go in. You didn't go in. You played the cautious card, and now we don't have to. You don't have to require that type of medical assessment. You don't have to go to that extreme as a heart patient. You don't have to have a heart attack if you follow the steps of not getting a heart attack. That's kind of it. That's kind of where we're at. That's kind of the wrap up. That's preventative This is preventative medicine in a nutshell. Diet, exercise, preventative screening, and where required, intervention. Intervention is more of like when you think of you're going to the hospital, I need an actual doctor, or by all means, don't shy away from getting medical attention. And that's basically the industry as a nutshell. Mental health fits in through the lifestyle, history, physician relationship, good diet and exercise. Diet and exercise do a lot for mental health when there isn't something that is either genetically or biochemically at cause, or substancely at cause. Because a lot of drugs do have a disorienting neurochemistry to them. I'll just kind of go with that. and leave it at that. This has been the Health Literacy, their wheel from Innovative Potential. Go check it out, www.theinnovativepotential.com. It's 99 cents, double-sided. There's a whole bunch of information on the back. I printed it out and laminated it and then stuck it on the fridge. It's great. It's just there. It nags me every day, so I don't have to nag myself. It is actually doing the thinking for me in my daily life, and it's good. It competes with children. It does sort of compete with children's fridge magnet stuff, but put it on your wall instead. Put it somewhere where you need it. And if that's on your fridge, right next to the A report card, or right next to the F report card, or right next to the C plus, or the C or the C minus, then that's where it goes. If you have to teach those lessons, if you have to teach these lessons to your family, to your new family, if you need to teach these lessons to yourself, if you need to teach these lessons to elderly people, it's there. This is what not to be afraid of. Don't be afraid of this. This is it. This is the capstone of what Innovative Potential is all about. It's like not dying and not getting anything sick. That's sort of what it's about. Join us next week. I'm going to go over the cancer wheel next week, so that's going to be a big one. I'm going to give a sneak preview of that, because that is just like, that's sort of the big one that I've been working on, and it is worth it. To say that it is worth it is that it is worth it. Where is it? To say that it is worth it is worth it. Did it switch? Did it done? Did it switch? Where is it? Okay. The cancer biology wheel next week is what's really driving sort of the push behind Innovative Potential, and what Innovative Potential is and does and why it is used. There has been a huge flourishing of cancer biology information in the past decade, and maybe 10 to 20 years kind of thing. Next week is going to be me getting a handle on all of it. There's been new classes of drugs put out. There's been new drug mechanisms put out. Innovative Potential itself is pushing for its own drug modification mechanism to treat this disease in clinic. It's a long way off, but it's halfway there. So join us and enjoy the dead space. No, join us. It's a lot. There's a ton of stuff here. Go check out Hanahan and Weiberg. They set the prototype up for this cancer wheel. It's also available on the Innovative Potential website. It's got all your basic bits and pieces, and it explains why this fucking disease is such a goddamn bitch. So I'm going to be going through that next week. If you'll join us on the Power Hour. And I'm signing off. Good night. I'll be in touch. Ciao.